very experienced judge, one of the most experienced on our New York federal bench. Of course, he's been there a very long time, and he's tough. So Trump is going to be very narrowly circumscribed in front of that jury. But I do think he'll testify, and that's the other end of this damages calculation. It's not just the compensatory damages, right. Hey, I was hurt, but it's also punitive damages. And if Trump does testify, he's going to speak to that because that goes to malice and intent. Did he intend her harm?
Also important to note, again, it's a dizzying set of cases and courts and trials. This is a federal court in New York, and the rules of federal court just tend to be
very different ball game in the Granite State, a state I hold near and dear to my heart. So take a look here. This is the choice for GOP nominee in New Hampshire. Keep in mind, this is with Christie and Ramaswamy voters reallocated to their second choice. My goodness gracious, what a tight race we have here between Donald Trump, who is still ahead with 44%, but Nikki Haley right on his heels at 40%. Ron DeSantis, though, way back at just 7%. He is not going to be able to repeat his second-place performance in New Hampshire if these polls are anywhere close to being correct. But this is closing in on President of the United States. The question is, why is Nikki Haley closing in on the President of the United States, the former president? And this will give you an understanding why. And this is something that Donald Trump has been complaining about. Okay, this is the choice for GOP nominee again. Look, among those who are registered Republicans, Donald Trump way out in front, 63% to 24% for Haley. New Hampshire allows those undeclareds to vote in the primary, those quote-unquote independents, right? Look amongst undeclareds. Nikki Haley with 59% to Donald Trump's 22%. This is something that Donald Trump has been complaining about, the idea that they're going to be these independents who vote in the Republican primary. That's not fair. Well, here's the thing you should keep in mind, and that is this. New Hampshire GOP primary voters who aren't Republicans. In our latest poll,
hello and welcome to the world. Streaming us on CNN Max. I'm Rosemary Church. Just ahead, it's on New Hampshire after a landslide victory in Iowa of the state's primary. The U.S. carries out a third round of strikes to action. More in a report. Plus, Donald Trump attends as his legal battles intertwine with his race for the White House.
Live from Atlanta, this is CNN Newsroom with Rosemary Church.
Good to have you with us. And we begin this hour in New Hampshire, where voters will go to the polls for the Republican presidential primary in just 6 days. And after his landslide victory in the Iowa caucuses, Donald Trump is hoping another win will cement his position as the party's eventual nominee. The former president visited the Granite State after a brief appearance in a New York courtroom for jury selection in his defamation trial. In New Hampshire, he appeared at a rally with former GOP rival Vivek Ramaswamy, who's now backing Trump. The Republican frontrunner focused his harshest attacks on his former UN ambassador, Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley, in particular, is counting on the Democrats and liberals to infiltrate your Republican primary. It's artificially boosting her numbers here, although we're still leading her by a lot. You know, as you know, I watched her speech last night. I thought it was inappropriate, but because it's bad for unity, it's bad for the party, what she said. But you'd almost think she won. She came in third, and she lost to not a particularly great candidate, obviously, as you've seen.
Haley and Ron DeSantis were also in New Hampshire on Tuesday. The former South Carolina governor has come under fire for claiming she's now in a two-person race with Trump, despite her third-place finish in Iowa. But she also got in some shots at President Joe Biden.
The majority of Americans think that having two 80-year-olds running for president is not what they want. You've got two people who spent trillions of dollars putting us in debt that our kids are never going to forgive us for. Biden and Trump both did that. Then you go and you look at the fact we've got all these issues around the country and around the world. And what are Biden and Trump both focused on? Investigations, past issues, things that aren't taking us forward. We can either have more of the same, or we can say it's time to change and move forward.
The political landscape in New Hampshire is very different to conservative Iowa, and recent polls show Nikki Haley gaining ground on Trump. CNN's Omar Jimenez spoke with voters about the upcoming primary.
From a cold Iowa to a snowy New Hampshire, where voters here are in the final frigid stretch to their primary.
How long you been voting in New Hampshire?
All my life.
Do you think what happened in Iowa is going to happen here in New Hampshire?
I think that is a strong possibility of yes.
Former President Trump swept 98 out of 99 counties in Iowa. Some feel it's going to be more of the same in the Granite State.
And why do you feel that way?
There's a lot of people who are won't come out and actually say that they're going to vote for him, but will vote for him.
The question is how that dynamic will play against Nikki Haley, who's jumped in recent polls, some that show her within single digits of the former president in New Hampshire. Despite her third-place Iowa finish, she polled well with moderates, which New Hampshire has a lot of. And she's now trying to position New Hampshire's primary as a two-person race to voters.
Cheers. Want some Baileys in that?
Oh, I know, yeah.
Voters like Gary Houle, who says he's done with Trump, for now.
I believe in honesty. I watch all these things that are going on with him right now, and I have to believe that a lot of it's kind of true. But I am looking for an alternative Republican to run against Joe Biden. I'm leaning toward Nikki Haley.
But he painted a crucial bottom line with the former president.
I ruled him out in the primary, but, if he were to win the nomination, then he'd be ruled back in.
You were surprised a little bit by the results in Iowa. Why is that?
I just didn't think he'd have that clear momentum.
Kevin Clark voted for Trump in 2016, wanting a change.
We got a bigger change than I think.
Different here in New Hampshire?
I certainly hope so. I think New Hampshire people, they judge things on their own. They don't go by polls. They don't decide important elections by anything other than what they think is best for the country and for them.
Everybody got stickers?
Some Trump voters are confident he'll repeat.
You can feel it. There's no doubt in my mind.
Other independents are still making up their minds.
Everyone here is different, so I'm not sure, who's gonna, feel which way.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
To see whether it's more of the same or legitimate challenge to the former president. The countdown is on. Rain, shine, or snow.
Even with weather like this?
Oh, yes. We're New Hampshire people.
And with the snow part of this weather, we've actually already seen a little bit of a similar dynamic to what we saw in Iowa. Some, including Ron DeSantis, have had to cancel at least one event due to treacherous road conditions because of this snow. That said, 7 days is going to count down pretty quickly in this final stretch to the primary. And remember, the voting population in New Hampshire is much different than Iowa. For one, many more moderates here in the state, which is a dynamic that at the very least Nikki Haley is hoping to take advantage of. Omar Jimenez, CNN, Manchester, New Hampshire.
And Nikki Haley is fighting off another controversy involving race and American history. Last month, she failed to mention slavery when a voter asked her about the cause of the Civil War. And on Tuesday, she said this.
Are you a racist party? Are you involved in a racist party?
No. We're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country. Our goal is to make sure that today is better than yesterday. Are we perfect? No. But our goal is to always make sure we try and be more perfect every day that we can.
Haley went on to say her goal is to lift everyone up, not to divide people based on race, gender or anything else. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was quick to criticize Haley during his CNN town hall with New Hampshire voters.
The U.S. is not a racist country, and we've overcome things in our history. You know, I think the founding fathers, they established a set of principles that are universal. Now, they may not have been universally applied at the time, but I think they understood what they were doing. We've had challenges with how race was viewed. So, yes, we've had challenges with how we've dealt with race as a society, but we are the best, no matter what your background is. If you have one place you want to grow up and have the most opportunity, it doesn't matter your background. This is the best place.
And Nikki Haley says she will not take part in any more Republican presidential debates unless Donald Trump participates. Well, that has forced ABC News to cancel its debate on Thursday and provided another line of attack for Ron DeSantis. Take a listen.
I agreed to do a debate with WMUR and ABC on Thursday and with CNN on Sunday. I'm the only candidate that actually agreed to come to New Hampshire to debate. And what does that say? We have 4 candidates for president now: Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, and me. I'm the only one who's not running a basement campaign at this point. You deserve as a voter to have the candidates come up, answer your questions in forums like this.
Again, the New Hampshire primary is just 6 days away, Tuesday, January 23rd. Be sure to tune in for CNN's extended coverage. A third round of US strikes against Houthi militants in Yemen has not stopped them from attacking vessels in the Red Sea. A US defense official says American forces destroyed several anti-ship missiles on Tuesday that the Iran-backed militants were preparing to launch from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. But just a few hours after the US strikes, the Houthis claimed to carry out a direct hit on another carrier, which they say was bringing missiles to Israel. The Houthis warn future strikes on Yemen will not go unanswered. The Israel Defense Forces tells CNN about 25 rockets were fired into southern Israel from Gaza in one of the largest attacks in weeks. Most of those rockets on Tuesday were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome air defense system, and no injuries were reported. Hamas's military wing has claimed responsibility. Meantime, Qatar says it has brokered a new deal between Israel and Hamas. As part of that agreement, medicine and other humanitarian aid will be delivered to Palestinian civilians in exchange for the delivery of medicine to Israeli hostages in Gaza. Qatar says the aid is expected to leave Doha Wednesday and head to Egypt before being transported to Gaza. Well, international doctors at the largest hospital in Khan Yunis say people are fleeing the compound as the Israeli military moves closer to the city in southern Gaza. Videos show people carrying blankets, mattresses and personal belongings as they leave the Al-Nasser hospital area, where some have taken shelter. In the background, explosions and sounds of small arms fire. Earlier Tuesday, the Israeli military claimed Hamas had carried out a recent launch from within the hospital compound. And CNN's Paula Hancock is following developments. She joins us now live from Abu Dhabi. Good to see you, Paula. So what is the latest on the US and UK strike on Houthi militants? And what's the Biden administration saying about what these strikes actually achieved?
Well, the Biden administration, Rosemary, is defending its decision to once again use the U.S. military to try and target these Houthi rebels. Now, we know in the early hours of Tuesday morning, the U.S. military targeted, they say they struck and destroyed 4 Houthi airship missiles, which were in preparation to launch. They said there was an imminent threat from those launches, and they took them out. Now, we have heard from the military as well that they believe that their first strike, this was back on Thursday into Friday overnight last week, they struck more than 60 targets. But even then, they believe that they probably destroyed less than a third of the Houthis' military capabilities. So that really just highlights how difficult it is for the US and UK navies and those affiliated to be able to try and neutralize the threat of the Houthis continuing to target vessels in in the Red Sea. And that was highlighted once again just a few hours after they targeted those Houthi rebel areas. They actually launched another missile which hit a ship. It did damage, but not enough to stop the ship, so they were able to continue. This was a Greek-owned, Malta-flagged ship in the Red Sea. So it really does point out and highlight just how difficult it is to be able to combat the Houthi rebels trying to target vessels in the Red Sea, because their military capabilities are spread out in a large area that they control in Yemen. Rosemary?
And Paula, to the conflict in Gaza, where people are fleeing Al Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis as Israeli forces approach. What is the latest on that war and, of course, the situation on the ground in Gaza?
So when it comes to the hospital itself, Rosemary, we understand from doctors within the hospital, from eyewitnesses, that many have had to leave on foot to try and move away from the area. The videos that we see show that there are explosions nearby, presumably from Israeli airstrikes. We also hear small arms fire in the background. So that does seem to be a particularly tense area there, and thousands would have been sheltering there. There's not just the patients within a hospital, but many who are internally displaced and have nowhere else to go, believing a hospital would be safer than other areas. Now, we've heard from Israel. They have said that they believe that Hamas had launched a missile, a rocket, from the area, from this compound, and that is why they were targeting this area. But you see people leaving there with everything that they can carry, mattresses, blankets, carrying their children to get to where they believe may be a safer area. We heard from one American doctor who is in this hospital at this point saying, quote, "The hospital is shaking and there is panic." Now, we have heard from Israel's defense minister once again that the intensive stage of their bombardment of Gaza will end soon, but we're certainly not seeing any indication of that at this point. Rosemary?
All right, our thanks to Paula Hancock's joining us live from Abu Dhabi. And still to come, CNN speaks with John Kerry about his plans to help campaign for US President Joe Biden's re-election, why he says it's too early to be concerned about the election right now. Plus, China's population falls for the second year in a row as Beijing reports on the health of the country's economy. Back with that and more in just a moment.
Anderson Cooper 360, tomorrow at 8 on CNN.
Sheldon, we think you might be overreacting to our ads for no-shells pistachios.
Ditch the shells? Okay, strip.
What?
You ditch your shells.
Okay, yeah, that's
No,
fine.
guys, I take it back.
You want the show?
No.
You got the show.
University of Maryland Global Campus is a school for real life, one that values the successes you've already achieved. Earn up to 90 undergraduate credits for relevant experience and get the support you need from your first day to graduation day and beyond. What will your next success be?
The majority of my patients with sensitivity, I see irritated gums and weak enamel. Sensodyne sensitivity gum and enamel relieves sensitivity, helps restore gum health, and rehardens enamel. I'm a big advocate of recommending things that I know work.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too. Jardiance may cause serious side effects, including ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to a sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction, and don't take it if you're on dialysis. Taking Jardiance with the sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with the big story to tell.
Our one purpose
is to produce young men of good character.
Director Alexander Payne is a master of the cinematic form. The Holdovers is funny, poignant, and full of heart.
Just come with me, okay?
It's the Golden Globe winner for Best Actor Paul Giamatti and Best Supporting Actress Da'Vine Joy Randolph.
Thank you. This is lovely.
And now it's been nominated by the Directors Guild of America for Best Director Alexander Payne.
You're your own man.
It's the best picture of the year. The Holdovers. Rated R. In theaters now or yours to own.
It's really been a gift having Mom live with us. But as a nurse, my training told me she needed more help than I could provide. So I connected with a place for Mom. My senior living advisor understood our unique situation. She quickly recommended communities and set up tours. A place for Mom helped us get to a decision. And now, Mom is so well cared for.
Talk to an expert senior living advisor today at no cost to your family.
With Nurtec ODT, I can treat a migraine when it strikes and prevent migraine
attacks. The majority of Americans think that having two 80-year-olds running for president is not what they want. You've got two
indigestion and stomach pain.
Ask about Nurtec ODT.
A force to be reckoned with. No, not you, Saquon. Your business bank account with QuickBooks Money now earns 5% APY.
5% APY? That's new.
Yep, that's how you business differently.
Some people have minor joint pain plus stomach problems. They may not be able to take just anything for pain. That's why doctors recommend Tylenol. It won't irritate your stomach the way Aleve or even Advil or Motrin can. For trusted relief, trust Tylenol.
Join Poppy and Phil on CNN This Morning, tomorrow at 6 Eastern.
Welcome back, everyone. US President Joe Biden is expected to underline America's impact on the battlefields in Ukraine when he meets with a bipartisan group of leaders today. All US support for Ukraine has been held up for weeks in Congress. Many Republicans are demanding aid be tied to security and immigration. White House source CNN President Biden will lay out setbacks that Ukraine could suffer in its fight against Russia without additional US aid. For months now, the front lines in Ukraine have barely moved. The country's much-anticipated counter-offensive has stalled against Russian positions, and now Ukraine's president is urging world leaders to prevent the war from becoming a frozen conflict. Volodymyr Zelensky delivered his passionate plea in person at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Tuesday. He's calling on Ukraine's allies to deliver more weapons and resources needed to win the war. He expressed gratitude for their support, but also criticized them for not doing enough sooner.
Full force of the sanctions could have forced Putin to concessions. Because of don't escalate, time was lost. And the lives of many of our most...
On the sideline,
Che.
Economic Forum in Davos.
Hello.
Recently announced he is